If you think you can outsmart the truth, think again. Subscribe, like, and keep your eyes open because in this story, one small mistake exposes everything. The rain hit the asphalt like shards of glass that night, sharp, relentless, almost angry. At 2:43 a.m., the sirens tore through the quiet suburbs of Glendale, Illinois. A black BMW M3 sat wrecked against a concrete barrier near the overpass, headlights flickering like dying stars. The engine still hummed. Inside, behind spider-webbed glass, a man's lifeless body was slumped over the steering wheel, bloodless, eerily still. Detective Lena Hart arrived first. 10 years in homicide had hardened her to the sight of death, but this one felt different. The man's name was Ethan Cross, a respected financial advisor with a clean record and a spotless life. On paper, at least. Yet something about the scene screamed wrong. No skid marks. No signs of panic. And most telling of all, the seatbelt was buckled, too perfectly. The paramedics confirmed what Lena already suspected. This wasn't an accident. Ethan Cross had been dead before the crash. Someone had staged it. By sunrise, the small town buzzed with whispers. A respected husband. 2 kids. No enemies. What could possibly explain a murder that looked like a crash, executed with surgical precision? In Ethan's home, the perfection continued. A sleek kitchen, everything aligned like a magazine spread. But on his desk, beneath a stack of financial reports, Lena found something that made her pulse spike, a black envelope with no return address. Inside, a single USB drive. When they loaded it at the precinct, the screen filled with numbers, offshore accounts, shell corporations, and transfers worth millions. The pattern was clear, embezzlement on a massive scale. The signature on the final authorization line? Ethan Cross. Lena exhaled slowly. So, our perfect man wasn't so perfect. But there was another signature, one that made her stop cold, Ray Donovan. Ethan's business partner and lifelong best friend. The two had built their wealth management firm from scratch. They'd been best men at each other's weddings. But the money trail told a different story. Millions moved through dummy accounts that linked back to both of them. When detectives reached out to Ray, he sounded shocked, maybe too shocked. Ethan handled all the transfers, he said quickly. He said it was for tax efficiency. I trusted him. His voice wavered. You don't think I... We're not saying anything yet, Lena replied. But inside she already was. That night, Lena drove back to the crash site. Something had been gnawing at her since morning. She knelt by the mangled car and inspected the undercarriage. A faint metallic glint caught her eye, a broken piece of a micro-tracking device. It wasn't factory installed. Someone had been watching Ethan. In the corner of her mind, a narrative began to form. Ethan discovers the money trail. Someone, maybe Ray, fears exposure. He kills Ethan, stages the crash, removes the evidence. But if that was true, why leave the USB drive? Unless Ethan had planned to expose someone and the killer didn't know he'd already made backups. Over the next 48 hours, Lena and her partner, Detective Luis Moreno, began piecing together the fragments of Ethan's last days. Surveillance footage placed him leaving his office at 7:52 p.m. the night of his death, holding a briefcase. He never made it home. But at 8:17 p.m., his phone pinged a cell tower near Lakeview Park, the opposite direction of his house. The same location where, 1 week earlier, Ray Donovan had purchased a prepaid burner phone. Coincidence? Lena didn't believe in those. When they confronted Ray again, he grew defensive. Look, Ethan and I had disagreements, sure. But murder? You're out of your mind. His lawyer pulled him away before Lena could press harder. That night, Lena sat in her car outside the Donovan residence. Through the rain-streaked windshield, she saw Ray's silhouette pacing his kitchen, phone pressed to his ear. After 10 minutes, he stepped into his garage carrying a duffel bag and drove off. She tailed him quietly down the interstate until he pulled into a deserted warehouse district. The rain masked her headlights. Ray parked, popped the trunk, and carried something heavy inside. Lena radioed backup, but before they could arrive, Ray came sprinting back out, empty-handed, and sped off. When the team entered the warehouse minutes later, the air was thick with the smell of gasoline. In the corner, flames had just begun to crawl up the side of an oil-stained tarp. Beneath it, a metal filing cabinet. Inside, half-burned documents, charred hard drives, and one unscathed object that had fallen just outside the fire's reach, another USB drive. It was identical to the first. At the lab, technicians cracked the encrypted files. Among the ledgers and emails was a recording, audio only, timestamped the night before Ethan's death. Ethan's voice, low and strained. "I have the proof. I'm done covering for him. If anything happens to me, it's Ray. Check the accounts in the Caymans." The room went silent. Lena felt a surge of grim satisfaction. Case closed, or so it seemed. She called the DA to begin the warrant process. But something in her gut wouldn't settle. At 2 a.m., unable to sleep, she replayed the audio one more time. This time, she noticed something off. The hum in the background wasn't ambient noise. It was rhythmic. A mechanical buzz she recognized instantly. The kind you'd hear inside an office server room. But Ethan's office had no server room. There was only one place in the entire company with that sound pattern, the back room of Ray's office. Meaning, the recording wasn't Ethan's at all. Someone had faked it. Suddenly, everything shifted. The too clean crime scene. The conveniently found USB drives. The dramatic audio confession pointing directly to Ray. It wasn't sloppy police work, it was manipulation. Lena leaned back in her chair, the weight of realization sinking in. Someone had gone to extreme lengths to frame Ray Donovan. And whoever it was, they were smarter, colder, and far more dangerous than anyone she'd suspected. She grabbed her coat, heart pounding. There was one last thing she needed to check. Ethan Cross's home office had a hidden compartment she hadn't searched. When she returned to the Cross residence, the rain had stopped. The air was electric with tension. Inside the office, she moved the desk, pried open the baseboard, and reached inside. Her fingers brushed against cold metal, a locked box. She forced it open. Inside were 3 passports, stacks of cash, and photographs. In every photo, Ethan Cross was not alone. The same woman appeared beside him in all of them, smiling, unaware she was being watched. On the back of one photo, a name was scrawled in neat handwriting. Anna Donovan, Ray's wife. And beneath it, a note in Ethan's handwriting. "If she talks, everything falls apart." Lena froze. The realization hit like a thunderclap. The motive wasn't greed. It was love, and betrayal twisted into something lethal. But the real shock came seconds later, when she noticed the faint red blinking light hidden behind the bookshelf. A surveillance camera. Someone was watching her, right now. If you're still here, you already know, the truth always hides in plain sight. So keep your eyes open, subscribe, and remember, every perfect plan has a flaw. The blinking red light cut through the darkness like a heartbeat. Detective Lena Hart froze in the middle of Ethan Cross's office, her pulse pounding in her ears. The camera lens glared back at her, small, precise, intentionally hidden. Whoever installed it wasn't just watching. They'd been anticipating her every move. She ripped the power cord from the wall and pocketed the camera's microSD card. Outside, thunder rolled low and heavy, echoing across the empty street. Lena knew better than to believe in coincidences. Someone had been inside this house after the police sealed it, recently. Back at the precinct, she slid the memory card into a laptop. The footage loaded slowly, days, weeks, months of static stills. Then one night stood out. The night before Ethan's death. The timestamp read 11:37 p.m. Ethan sat at his desk, visibly anxious. He kept glancing toward the window. Then, headlights flashed across the room. A car pulled up outside. Ethan stood, walked toward the door, and in stepped Anna Donovan, Ray's wife. Lena leaned forward, every nerve on fire. Ethan and Anna spoke quietly, almost tenderly. He reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. But the tone shifted. Anna pointed toward the desk, her face suddenly hard. She said something sharp. Ethan shouted back. Then, She slammed something onto the desk, a manila envelope, and stormed out. Minutes later, Ethan picked up his phone, dialed, and said, "It's over. I'm telling her everything." Then the video cut to black. Lena sat back, her mind racing. Anna wasn't an accessory. She was the axis. The perfect crime wasn't about money. It was about betrayal, personal, intimate, and devastating. She replayed Anna's last words from the footage, enhanced the audio, filtered the background static. Her voice emerged, trembling but clear. "If Ray finds out, he'll kill us both." The words hung in the air like smoke. By dawn, Lena was on Anna's doorstep. The Donovan home sat silent under a gray sky, curtains drawn. She rang the bell once. No answer. A second time. Still nothing. She was about to leave when she noticed the mailbox, stuffed with letters, uncollected for days. Her gut clenched. She drew her weapon, nudged the door open. Inside, the house was immaculate, too immaculate. A vase of fresh lilies on the counter, a coffee cup half-finished on the table. But upstairs, the bedroom told another story. The closet was empty. Suitcases gone. Anna Donovan had vanished. Lena alerted the station, and an APB went out. By noon, highway cameras picked up Anna's car heading north toward Milwaukee. But an hour later, it was found abandoned in a rest stop parking lot. Doors locked, keys still inside. No sign of struggle, no footprints, no trace. It felt orchestrated, controlled. That afternoon, Lena met with the district attorney. They agreed to move forward with charges against Ray Donovan, given the overwhelming financial evidence and Ethan's staged recording. But Lena couldn't shake the unease. It all felt too convenient. Then came the break she didn't expect. A lab technician reviewing the warehouse fire evidence found partial prints on the second USB drive, not Ray's, not Ethan's, but Anna's. Her prints were on nearly every document Ethan had supposedly hidden. Lena sat alone in the evidence room, staring at the results. Anna wasn't just caught in the middle. She'd been holding the strings. She pulled Ethan's autopsy again. A small detail stood out this time. Trace amounts of ethyl hexanediol, a chemical often found in industrial cleaning products, but also in liquid sedatives used in private clinics. Not something a random killer would have easy access to. Anna Donovan had been a registered nurse before she married Ray. The pattern sharpened like broken glass. Ethan had been sedated, moved, staged. Anna had both the medical knowledge and the motive, a secret affair, a shared financial crime, and a husband on the verge of discovering both. But where was she now? That night, Lena returned to the warehouse, the one Ray had tried to burn down. The air was thick with smoke residue and silence. She walked slowly through the charred remains, her flashlight cutting narrow tunnels of light through the dark. Then she saw it. Faint footprints near the back door, smaller than a man's, leading to a hidden storage room. The door was padlocked from the outside. She forced it open. Inside were boxes. Dozens of them. And in the center, a large corkboard covered with photos, receipts, maps, and names connected by red string. At the top, Ethan's picture. Below him, Ray. And beside them, circled 3 times in red, Anna Donovan. Pinned next to her name was a photograph Lena hadn't seen before. Anna standing beside a third man, tall, severe, wearing a security badge. The name printed on it, Dr. Michael Reeves. Lena felt her chest tighten. Reeves had once worked at a private clinic where Anna had been employed. He'd also been charged, but never convicted, in a prescription fraud case years earlier. The pieces started to lock into place. Ethan, Anna, and Reeves had orchestrated the embezzlement together. When Ethan got cold feet, Anna panicked. To protect herself and her secret partner, she staged Ethan's murder, but framed Ray, her husband, to keep suspicion away. It was brilliant. Cold. Nearly perfect. Until one mistake. The tracking device on Ethan's car, Anna had planted it to monitor his movements. But when it broke off in the crash, it became the clue that unraveled everything. Lena called for Reeves's address, only to find he'd disappeared 2 days after Ethan's death. His apartment was stripped bare, wiped clean. But the building's security camera caught a glimpse of him leaving with 2 suitcases and a woman wearing a dark hooded coat. The timestamp, 3:11 a.m. The night Anna vanished. Lena stared at the frozen frame on the monitor. Reeves and Anna walking away together, 2 ghosts slipping into the dark. It all fit. They had the money, the plan, the fake evidence. All they needed was time. She exhaled slowly. Not this time. The next morning, a multi-state manhunt was launched. Airports flagged, border alerts issued. For 3 days, nothing. Then, a break. A motel clerk in northern Michigan recognized Anna from the Bolo alert. She'd checked in under the name Claire Mason, driving a rental car with out-of-state plates. By the time agents arrived, the room was empty, but something small was left behind on the nightstand, a silver locket. Inside was a photo of Ethan Cross, folded neatly in half, and a single note scrawled in pen. He never knew the truth. Lena stared at it for a long time, the words echoing through her head. What truth? Back at headquarters, she spread everything across the evidence board. The money, the affair, the fake recording, the camera footage. The puzzle fit perfectly. Too perfectly. That's when Luis, her partner, entered holding a printout. "You're not going to believe this," he said, laying it on the table. It was a DNA analysis report. Samples from Ethan's home. Toothbrushes, razor blades, matched to a secondary DNA profile found on the sedative syringe recovered from his bloodstream. But it wasn't Anna's. It was Ray Donovan's. Lena froze. The world tilted. The neat story shattered. If Ray's DNA was on the syringe, he wasn't framed. He was part of it. Absolutely. Here's the final, climactic part of your viral true crime story. The perfect crime that wasn't. How one mistake solved everything. This is Chapter 3, 1,000 words of intense, cinematic suspense that brings the investigation to a shocking conclusion and leaves viewers haunted. Chapter 3. The truth buried beneath the lies. If you've made it this far, you're in deep. But don't look away now, because the final truth is darker than anything you've heard. Like, subscribe, and remember, even the smartest criminals forget one thing: the truth doesn't stay buried forever. The storm returned the night Detective Lena Hart realized everything she thought she knew was a lie. Sheets of rain smeared the city lights into ghostly streaks across her windshield as she raced down Interstate 90, the wipers thrashing to keep up. Ray Donovan's DNA on the syringe had detonated the entire investigation. The man who'd claimed innocence, the man supposedly framed by his wife, wasn't just connected. He'd held the syringe that killed his best friend. But something still didn't make sense. If Ray and Anna had worked together, why vanish separately? Why leave trails leading to each other? The answer came as she replayed the motel footage for the 100th time. Reeves and Anna walking side by side, but when Anna turned, her face was shadowed. Still, her posture, rigid, cautious, wasn't the same woman from the camera footage in Ethan's office. Lena zoomed in. A glint on her wrist, a watch. Not the gold Cartier Anna always wore. This one was silver, masculine. She froze the frame, adjusted contrast, enhanced the lighting. The face under the hood wasn't Anna. It was Ray Donovan. He hadn't been framed. He'd been running. Lena's mind raced backward through every clue: the offshore accounts, the false confession, the DNA. The entire narrative snapped into focus like a lens finally locking in place. Ethan had discovered that Ray and Anna were having an affair. When he threatened to expose them, Ray panicked.
But Anna?
She wasn't in on the murder. She was the second victim in waiting. Ray had killed Ethan and then made it look like a triangle of betrayal. He forged Ethan's recording, planted the USB drives, and tampered with the scene. But Anna found out, maybe the day after Ethan's death, and tried to run. That's why her car was found abandoned. That's why her closet was empty. Ray had gotten to her first. Lena called Luis. Put a trace on all of Ray Donovan's accounts. Cayman, Zurich, whatever comes up. He's not fleeing alone, he's moving the money. 30 minutes later, Luis called back. We got something. He wired $500,000 to a small charter company in Michigan. Flight scheduled tonight. Private jet, 11:15 p.m., destination, Toronto. Lena's heart pounded. Get the marshals. I'll meet you there. The small regional airfield was swallowed in fog and rain, the kind of night where sound carried but sight failed. A single hangar glowed in the distance, light spilling across wet tarmac. Inside, a white Gulf Stream sat ready, engines humming low. Lena crouched behind a fuel truck, radio whispering updates in her ear. Suspect confirmed on site. Alone. Approaching aircraft. She watched Ray Donovan step into view, dark coat, calm, purposeful. His hair slicked back by the rain, his face expressionless. He carried a single duffel bag, heavy, deliberate. She waited until he reached the stairs before shouting, "Police! Step away from the plane." Ray froze, then turned, slow as a predator. His expression didn't flicker. "Detective Hart, I was wondering when you'd show up." "Drop the bag." He smiled faintly, almost pitying. "You've been thorough. I'll give you that. But you still don't understand." "Try me." Ray set the duffel down, zipped it open. Bundles of cash, millions. Beneath them, a small black pistol. "I didn't kill Ethan for the money," he said quietly. "I killed him because he wouldn't stop." "Stop what?" Lena demanded. "Destroying everything." Ray stepped forward, rain slicking across his face. "Ethan wasn't the man you think he was. He was laundering money for Reeves long before I knew. When I found out, I tried to pull Anna out. But Ethan, he threatened her. He was obsessed. He said if she left me, he'd ruin us both. You saw those photos, right? The ones that looked like an affair? They were leverage. He was blackmailing her." Lena hesitated. "You expect me to believe you killed your best friend to protect your wife?" Ray's voice cracked, just enough to sound human. "I killed him to save her. But Reeves, he found out, twisted it, turned her against me. You think she ran away?" "No. He took her. He has her." Lena's instincts screamed manipulation. But the fear in his eyes, real or not, gave her pause. "Then where is she now?" Ray didn't answer. His gaze shifted, just over Lena's shoulder. The look told her before the sound did. A soft click, metal against metal. She spun around just as a voice said, "Right here." Anna Donovan stepped from the shadows of the hangar, soaked to the bone, eyes hollow. In her hand, a gun. "Put it down, Anna," Lena ordered, aiming her own weapon. Anna's hand shook. Her voice was cold, broken. "You think you know what happened? You don't know anything." She looked at Ray. "You killed him. You said it was for us. But it was never for us." Ray's face tightened. "He was going to ruin you." "He loved me," she said, her voice cracking. "You couldn't stand that." The air vibrated with tension, 3 hearts beating, 3 guns drawn. Lena's mind raced. One wrong move, and this hangar would become a bloodbath. Then Anna's expression changed, from rage to something else. A small, bitter smile. "But you made one mistake, Ray." Ray's brow furrowed. Anna reached into her pocket, pulled out a flash drive, and held it up. "You always thought you were smarter. But Ethan recorded everything. The meetings, the transfers, the night you killed him. He left it all for me." Ray lunged forward. A shot cracked through the hangar. Then another. Silence. Lena blinked through the smoke. Ray lay sprawled on the ground, blood blooming across his chest. Anna stood over him, shaking, the gun slipping from her hands. She looked at Lena, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't want this. Any of it." Lena lowered her weapon slowly. "It's over, Anna." Anna's voice was a whisper. "No, it's not." She stepped backward, eyes glassy. He wasn't working alone. Before Lena could ask, headlights flared at the far end of the hangar. A black SUV screeched to a halt. The driver's door opened, and out stepped Dr. Michael Reeves, calm, dry, as if the storm itself bowed to him. He raised a pistol. Lena dove behind a crate as bullets ricocheted through metal. Anna screamed. More shots. Then silence again, thick, suffocating. When Lena looked up, Reeves was gone. So was the flash drive. Anna was on the floor, clutching her shoulder, alive but bleeding. Lena radioed for backup, sirens already howling in the distance. But Reeves had vanished into the rain, leaving behind the chaos he'd orchestrated. Hours later, the hangar was swarming with officers. Ray Donovan was pronounced dead at the scene. Anna was taken into custody, weeping, trembling, broken. But the flash drive, the one that could prove everything, was gone. 3 weeks later, Lena filed her final report. Officially, the case was closed. Ray Donovan, primary suspect, killed resisting arrest. Ethan Cross, homicide victim. Anna Donovan, accessory. Unofficially, she knew better.